James, how are we today?
Hi, good to see you. How's it going?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. I've been staying busy this week, so.
Okay. What have you been doing this week?
Well, I've got we got to keep up with the stuff at the center where we're staying. I've got activities to do there, like cleaning up, and you got to do the activities there, what they require of you. I've been applying for a couple of jobs.
Sounds like you've had a very busy week.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing a lot at the center too, which is you're actually doing a lot of work there, getting things done, getting things cleaned up. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, there's a lot to do with kids, and,
Okay.
doing okay.
All right. Sounds good. It's a little bit better than where we were a few weeks ago. So what has changed? What's a little bit different?
Well, I've been working on getting mad, with the kids and with shoes, so it's getting a little better. It's not as intense, I guess, at home. We've kind of settled into a routine a little bit more, so we're not as hectic. We've been there for a while now, so it's getting a little better.
So it sounds like you've been putting a lot of work into, paying attention to your interaction with your kids and your wife.
Yeah.
And it's paid off.
A little. A little.
Okay.
We still had some issues, and I'm still, trying to get there. I'm trying to not get as angry, but sometimes I can't help it,
Can you give me a specific example of, like, maybe over the last week or last couple of weeks where?
Well, last week, it's always, it always ends up being the same thing. I asked my son, Johnny, to help me do some of the chores that are required at the center, and he got mad, refused to do it. He doesn't think I can tell him what to do, just the same old thing, and I ended up getting into an argument with Shu later. It wasn't right then, but a little later I got mad at her still. It just makes me so mad, that, I don't know, I just feel like she's not on the same page with me about him and what he should be doing. So
Okay.
it's hard sometimes.
So once again, Johnny has a moment where he gets very angry, or who knows what. He could be overwhelmed, he could be stressed, he could, but Johnny has that going on, and then he gets pretty angry, which kind of gets you to an increased intense level, doesn't it?
Every time.
Okay.
But I've been trying to think about, like he's told me, maybe he's not angry, maybe he's feeling a different way.
Okay.
I'm trying to think on that. I mean, it's still not easy, but.
So you're exploring that possibility.
I'm trying.
Okay.
I'm thinking more about it. So.
Okay. So what does Johnny's behaviors look like? I mean, just so I continue to be clear with what he did and what he's been doing.
Well, he just gets so defiant with me, and it just.
Like what?
Like the picking up or getting ready or getting him to school in the morning. That's always a nightmare. I mean, he gets up and I'm telling him to hurry up, we can't be late. If he's late, then we get in trouble. I've got people watching me all over the place, and Shu's always seems to be on his side. She babies him, and, I think it just was so different when I was in prison, and now that I'm out, they're having a hard time adjusting to how it should be,
Okay. It also sounds kind of like it's kind of overwhelming for you, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like, not in any way to say prison would have been easy, but it does sound like, things were pretty structured or pretty set, and you knew what you were going to do when you were going to do it. And being home now is like, wow, I mean, just getting Johnny up, ready, fed, in school, ready for school, and to catch a bus or get to drive him to school or get to school, that's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I feel like Shu doesn't, I mean, I know she knows they have to be at school on time, but she doesn't make any special effort. It's like she gives up in the morning, and it's my job to get them ready. And it just, it's so irritating, That's just an example of something that happens at home.
Yeah, but it does sound like that. Shu leaving the responsibility to you is as overwhelming and as you know emotionally difficult it is for you. It really does sound like you do really well with it.
Well, we've been to school on time this week.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, going back to Johnny a little bit, looking at, how he responds and how he acts. I'm trying to get an idea of, kind of looking back kind of with you and, how old's Johnny now?
10.
So he's 10 years old. What was it like for you at 10 years old? What were you like? If you don't mind me asking. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
It was, my house was different. My dad was so mad all the time and drinking and gone and in prison. It was different for Johnny, I'm not as bad as my dad was.
Yeah.
He was mad, he was angry, always yelling at me, always yelling at Mom, always, it was awful. I was mad at him too. It was hard when I was a kid. So it's hard, it's hard to say what I felt like, but mad, scared probably. It's hard.
Yeah. So it sounds like your childhood is Dad's yelling, screaming, drinking. Sounds like he was probably pretty inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Who got you ready for school?
Most of the time, me.
Yeah, so, looking back at yours, even though Dad's very angry, you're kind of scared. Is that pretty accurate that you were scared, kind of,
Yeah, probably.
Then what did you feel? As he's going ranting and raving, and here you have the responsibility to get up and go to school yourself and get yourself ready and get breakfast made. What would you say you felt then?
Well, I didn't usually have breakfast. Nobody was there to make it, but
okay.
I didn't know any better at the time. I just thought that that's what most kids do,
Okay.
It didn't seem like a big deal to me. But now when I'm getting Johnny ready every morning, I think, well, where was somebody to do that for me,
Yeah.
Why doesn't Johnny appreciate it more? That I'm there trying to get him ready, feed him, and...
So you're kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but it really sounds like, well, oh my gosh, when I was 10 years old, I was getting myself ready, and I really didn't get breakfast, and no one really made sure I was at school, and no one made sure that I was dressed, and there was no argument at that point for you. You just tried to overcome a bad situation and still take care of yourself. You were the one being the caregiver. Pretty accurate?
Mm-hmm.
And now you see Johnny as, oh my gosh, at 10 years old, why can't he help out me a little bit? Because, I did it.
Yeah, I was doing it myself. All I asked him to do was brush his teeth by himself, get his socks and shoes on by himself, and I lay out his clothes even. Shu washes them, but I lay them out in the morning. I'm asking for a little help. And then I get mad, and then we go through the same thing like we talked about.
So let me ask you a question. I guess I'm just kind of curious. Would you say that your anger towards Shu is more about Shu not helping out, or your anger towards Johnny, or is it the fact that you see Johnny and you would expect him to be able to do more because you did more, and the fact that you don't feel appreciated, is that where some of that anger is coming from? Would you say? Where's that root for you? Where's the? Because I'm trying to understand the dynamics between, you being mad at Johnny and then you and Shu arguing. Because I just wonder about what are you really angry about?
Well, all of it, but I think I get mad at Shu because why wasn't she teaching him to do this stuff when I was in prison? Why wasn't she showing him that this is what you should be doing? All she did was baby him. She let her mom come over. They took over. I feel like he should know how to do these things, and she doesn't care to teach him, or she doesn't think it's important, so it makes me so mad at her. Like, if only you could be a little more helpful, a little better mom, then I wouldn't have to get mad all the time.
Yeah.
That's how it feels.
Yeah, so if I understand you correctly, it's kind of like, part of your expectations
Yeah.
Part of your expectations when you came out of prison was a couple of things. One is that she would be more involved in trying to get Johnny to be more independent. And part of your expectation for Johnny is that he would be more like you.
More responsible.
And more like you. So, I mean, I can see where that creates a little bit of anger. And then I can also see one of the things you said a little while ago was that you were pretty, what do I say, I'm not going to use the word jealous, but kind of envious that, you know, where was your mom and dad? You know, where was that taking care of you when you were a kid?
That's a good question.
Sorry about my dog. He likes just to look out the window.
That's a good question. I don't know where they were. They were, you know, my dad was always drunk, mad. My mom was always gone and didn't care. And then I would, you know, and then when I went to foster care, they didn't care about me either. They didn't help take care of me either. So I just think I had so much responsibility. And I'm not asking Johnny to have all that responsibility, just a little bit. Just a little bit. Why didn't you give him that responsibility? You're right, exactly. Why I expected them. You know, and so I don't feel like me getting mad is all my fault all the time.
Yeah.
I feel like it's...
It also sounds like it's not all Shu's fault either. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like what you're saying is, yeah, there's a little bit of this that sits in me too. Is that pretty true?
A little.
Yeah.
A little.
That's pretty good. Because you know when we started weeks ago, like it was everything everybody else's, but today it's like really does sound like you're getting some insight into you, which is pretty incredible.
Well, since we talked last, I have noticed when I am getting mad at Johnny, I can take a second and see maybe what's going on with him. But with Shu, it's still hard. It's still hard for me to, you know, she's an adult, she should. But with Johnny, I am getting a little better about understanding more.
Yeah, so you've actually, I mean, let me tell you, this is pretty incredible. I want you to really kind of own this. Man, normally from what you said in the past when we were in here is that, boy, when you get angry, man, you can feel it in your jaws, and then you're just really in your chest, and you're all tight. And all of a sudden, now, you're at a point where, man, you can take a few seconds. Maybe a minute. Sometimes no, but understand, up to this point, you haven't been able to do that. But you've actually kind of connected a little bit, you know, the fact that, you know, you do want this to work. And all of a sudden you're going to take a few minutes to try to at least see what's going on with Johnny. What do you think's going on with Johnny?
I don't know, but you know, when you told me that, when we talked about how I felt when I was getting yelled at, that kind of helped me a little take a second when I get mad at Johnny. Because, man, my dad was so mean. He yelled at me and he was drunk, and my foster parents were terrible. And so I don't want him to feel that way, but I want him to be responsible.
Yeah, so you go back to, man, I didn't like feeling anxious. I didn't like feeling overwhelmed. I didn't like feeling not loved. I didn't like feeling like I was bad. Mm-hmm. And you don't want that for Johnny.
No.
But you do want Johnny to be a little more responsible.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's, you know, to be honest with you, I think that's pretty healthy to kind of would like that for your son. You know, I think you're right on track with that. And I do appreciate the fact that, you know, you don't want Johnny to feel like you did when you were 10 years old.
But I still, I don't mean to come, but I still feel like I need help with that. Yeah. I need help with making him responsible. I can't do everything by myself. I can't do it alone.
Yeah. I understand that. Oh, I get that completely.
I need you to help me with that.
Yeah, and part of what we're doing here as a whole with the family is trying to build that. Part of one of your treatment plan goals were to, you know, better the interaction between you and your family. And I think part of that is what we can look at, because I think raising a kid isn't, you know, just your responsibility. Yeah. And it's just not Shu's responsibility. And understand, being married, truthfully, we all have our different ways we were raised, our own stuff that we bring into the relationship, and we're learning as we go along.
Mhm.
You know, so I think that's really, I think those are healthy things for you to want, which is Johnny to be more responsible and to be a little more responsible, and Shu to help you out a little bit. I mean, that's good dialogue for us to, work together as we're working with the family. So I think that's really well. Part of what we kind of wanted to look at was, from an anger perspective, was one of our other aspects to your treatment plan that we've been working on. How would you say you've done with your anger?
Well, I mean,
From an intensity level, and I really want you to bring it back to what we talked about sessions 4 is, is it still massively intense in your jaws, and do you really feel the pain and the pounding in your chest that you share?
I do. Yeah, I have had that. I
Okay.
do still feel that. But the thing that I feel like I've made a little ground on is not immediately screaming. I can notice it now. You told me to start feeling it, and I'm noticing it now at least. And sometimes I can take a second and take a breath, and I'm able to make it less intense. But I'm still, I have gotten angry in the last,
Do you realize this does take time?
yeah.
You're doing great. I think that's exactly what. So, in taking those minutes, what have you been doing to help you with that?
Well, with Johnny, with Shu, I'm not doing as well. I feel like my anger sometimes is justified, because I'm mad at Johnny.
Okay.
But with yelling at Johnny, I've been taking a breath and stepping back for a second. I literally just take a step back physically, and that's been helping, not to just immediately go crazy or, say things that I don't want to say to him.
Or really mean?
Or mean. Sometimes
Yeah.
I mean some of them, but.
Yeah, I understand that. Okay. So, let me help me understand, just so I get this right. I don't want to misunderstand. So, really, Johnny gets really angry.
Mhm.
He gets, who knows, overwhelmed, and you're still searching that to figure out what is actually going on with Johnny, which I applaud you on. Johnny does his thing.
It's fit.
His fit. You are now able to go, what's going on with Johnny? Literally, I'm going to see if I get this correct. Actually, literally take a step back. Give yourself a few minutes. It doesn't happen all the time, but you do take a step back. Catch your breath, which actually relieves some of the stress in your face, in your chest. And then what happens?
Well, a couple of times, I've still yelled and gotten angry, but one time I did stop, I took a breath, and I left the room, and then I didn't, Shu and I didn't have the fight or anything, I just walked away from it. But the toys didn't get picked up. Toys are still on the floor, so I didn't accomplish much other than just not yelling, Didn't teach him any responsibility by walking away, but I didn't scream at him. I didn't yell at Shu. I just left it.
So.
But that's what you told me.
No.
Be better with the family. And so I decided to forget the responsibility for that day and just be gentler with the family.
Yeah. But let me kind of reflect back a little bit about what I heard you say. It really sounded like that, the responsibility didn't get done, which is disappointing, which is still your end goal is that you'd like him to pick up his toys, right? So that's a little disappointing, and you're bothered by that still. Is that correct? At the same time you've also recognized that, oh my gosh, I need for me to take care of me. I need to step back, take that breath, allow myself to calm down, and not get so angry.
Yeah, well, and I'm doing it for him too, me and him.
Yeah.
It was terrible. I do know, we talked about how bad it felt when I was getting yelled at, when I was little, right? I don't like that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to turn out like my dad, and,
Yeah, so going back, you recognize the fact that you want something more for your and Johnny's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And it does sound like that you're learning too. Like you've never really seen what a strong interaction or a positive interaction between a father and a son is. Is that pretty true?
Yeah, I never really thought about it before, but yeah, that is true.
So you're just
On
learning.
television, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's how accurate's that. I mean, gosh, if we based our lives on television, sometimes we'd all feel pretty less about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're making really good progress.
Mm-hmm.
I think, looking at our stuff, that you really see some insight in things, and I would really challenge us to continue these sessions, and and I really do want you to keep looking at really where this is coming from. I mean, really a lot of this is stemming from your relationship with your dad and your mom.
Mm-hmm.
So bringing it back and continuing to being self-aware and still having that insight into you. You're doing great. I really do want to tell you that, I want you to know is that second of taking a step back and taking a breath is huge progress.
Thanks. It doesn't feel like it all the time, but
Hey, you're learning new feelings, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that 1 second of not such intense anger. I mean, must feel pretty good.
Well, I know it would have felt good if my dad had done it.
Yeah. And it sounds like you still have that huge craving or desire or hope that would have happened for you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well, we're out of time.
Okay.
What I would like to do is see if we can get you back in here in the next couple days. I mean, we're going to 2-3 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to keep doing what we're doing and keep looking at yourself and looking at yourself when you're out of this office. How do you feel you're doing?
I'm doing better.
Okay.
A little better.
All right. I'm thankful you're here, and we're going to continue to do this together. Okay.